Sure. Yeah, WolfiTalks number 2. If you like it, what we do, please tell your friends and family and other riders. We have some interesting things coming up. If you have a good idea, what we should talk about, we want to give this a little bit of a stage here for people who have done amazing things. And obviously today we have somebody who's done some amazing things. I'm a cyclist. I consider myself a decent cyclist, and if I make it to 1,000 kilometers a month, that's it. That's a good month. Yeah. So that gets me about over 10,000 kilometers a year. But this guy puts me to shame, yeah, because he puts it, I think, in a couple of hours. Yeah. So without further ado, I give you Neil Copeland, and I think there's some amazing stories to tell, and I'm really puzzled how he can ride for so long without any support. But I'm listening now.
Listen, you might have found out a few tricks and tips. So
thank you.
Cheers, thank you. Right, so good evening, everybody. Just quickly, we're videoing so we can put it up on YouTube later, and we are live on Facebook. So I hope nobody minds when anyone's in shot. So yeah, good evening. Welcome to Wolfies. My name's Neil Copeland. I know some of you, but some of you are new faces. And I'm going to talk to you about the crazy world of ultra racing. I'm going to talk you through my very first race, which was Biking Man Amman about 10 months ago. That triggered my start, or the start of my journey into this crazy world that I've come to love, and what has been a pretty transformational experience. Through this talk, hopefully you'll find out more about the race itself. I think there might be there's a few of you here I know are doing Amman next year. Some of you might be interested in doing Amman, some of you might not be sure. So this is your chance to find out more about the race, to find out more about some of the things that I recommend looking at in terms of training, in terms of preparation. And then at the end we'll do a Q&A. I've got 3 people here who've also raced some of the races this year. So we've got a pretty wide range of experiences. So if you've got any questions at all, then do ask. We will be breaking down everything I've got and everything that I'll be carrying with me in this year or next year's race in Amman. So this is everything I will be taking, bar water and food. Okay. So I'm going to cover some things that will be kind of interest and more informational. So physiological training. A lot of people can think that's the most important thing, but based on my experience this year, that's only about a third of what you need to focus on. There are other things that are of equal importance to being successful in ultra racing in general and in the Biking Man series. Equipment is very important, has an impact on your race strategy. Food. We'll talk a lot about food as we go through this. And then race management as well. Okay, so for those of you who don't know me, I've been riding bikes for 30 years. I've done pretty much all of the European bucket list sportives, including the Fred Whitten here. So that's going up Hard Knock Pass, which is probably the steepest thing. That's steeper than anything you'll find in Amman, just to be clear. And now I'm an ultra racer. I've been an ultra racer for a year. I also run one of Dubai's few dedicated cycle coaching businesses. And I'm also a Biking Man ambassador. So as part of that, I am here to help promote the Biking Man series and to answer your questions and help you get involved and help you decide if this is the right kind of event for you. I spent 2018 racing the full Biking Man series. Someone did ask me just before I did Amman, are you going to race all 4? And I said, don't be stupid. This is just to tick the box. Come back and have a chat with you if I come top 5, thinking that's never going to happen. Obviously, I came top 5 and got completely hooked. It took me to Amman, to Corsica, to Peru, and to Taiwan. We raced through the heat, the snow, the rain, the cold. I got bitten by a dog. I got scared by snakes, and I got frightened by monkeys. It's been an epic experience, but through this year I've had some of the most emotionally amazing times I have ever had, full stop. Never mind on a bike. It's been a great journey, not just for me, but for the people that I've worked with to take them on this journey, and with the riders that I've raced with across the world. So, what is self-supported bike racing? Okay, they're generally between 700 and 7,000 kilometres. The longest one I've heard of in a single stage is 7,000 kilometres. This is a typical one you might see. This is the Inca Divide. So next year Inca Divide, 1700k near enough. Far too much climbing to be sensible. It's pretty tough. Now they are normally doing a single stage. Now what does that mean? Well, it means once the flag drops, it's just a race to the finish. So it's up to you to balance sleep, riding, eating, to get to the end as quickly as you can. And it's not just as simple as ride as hard as you can and ride as fast as you can, as we'll see. Getting the right balance is really critical to success. Now, because it's self-supported, you have to do everything yourself. You have to rely on things that are commercially available to every other rider out there. You can't have your wife sat there with a feed bottle at the top of the climb, or you can't go and stay with your friend Dave's in kind of Niswa. That's not in the spirit of the ride. Okay. Thanks to Chris, first of all, because this is Chris's data from day one in Taiwan. This is a typical day in the life of an ultra racer. 230k. He covered half the distance of the island. 3,000 metres of climbing. Okay, so we've done more distance than coast to coast. We've done about 3 times the climbing of coast to coast. What the data doesn't show is it was hot, it was humid. When it started to cool down, it started raining. So the big question is why? Why on earth would you want to do something like this? It's absolutely insane. That's a really hard question to answer before you've done one. If you were to ask me a year ago why you entered Oman, I don't really know. But I bet if I ask anyone who's done one of these why you do it, you know why afterwards. These are life-changing experiences. You find ways of pushing yourself that you never thought possible. Your ability for your mind to overcome your perceived physical limits is really quite an incredible thing to come to terms with. And if you've never ridden your bike through the middle of the night, after 40 hours with just 2 hours of sleep, and seen a 40-foot mouse out of the Gruffalo coming at you from the side of a mountainside in Corsica, you've not really ridden your bike very well, or very far. So that has actually happened to me. I was riding through the night in Corsica. I've been up for 42 hours, I think. I had 2 hours of sleep. The bushes became like the mouse out of the Gruffalo. The white flowers by the side of the road turned into skulls that were coming out at me. Other people have talked about concrete walls morphing and moving. Sleep deprivation can be a fun thing. Okay. But I wanted to talk about the word race, because I'll talk a lot tonight about ultra racing. And I don't want people to see that as a word to put them off. And I deliberately picked this picture of Renette here and Jen at the end of a man. Spoke to quite a lot of people, both people who are going to win, people who are going to come near the back, people who are in the middle. Everybody talks about the race. Everybody talks about racing themselves. Everybody talks about beating their preconceived ideas of who they are. And that for me is what the race truly is about. So don't be afraid of the word race. This is not people charging around in a peloton proving who's the fastest. It's you proving to yourself what you can do. So that's a really important point. Okay, let's talk about Oman, because that's the main reason a lot of you are here. You want to go and do it next year. So here is the course for Oman next year. 1,000 kilometres around the country. Around the northern part of the country. We start in Barca and we finish in Muscat. Now, the route this year is mandatory. It wasn't last year, but there is one exception which I'll get into. There is the gravel shortcut that some of you may have heard about. It's still an option for those wanting to take it. So we start on the first 200k, rolling through the Hajar Mountains to get to Ibri on the other side. Then we get the mighty Jebel Shams. I'll talk more about that in a bit. Most people will be doing Jebel Shams towards the end of day one or at the beginning of day two. And the start of that climb is at about 320 kilometres in for those who want to know how far they might be riding in the first day. Long stretch to the sea after Shams. long flat ride through the desert, you can really just get down on your aero bars and keep going. Then left turn, head towards Sur, 220k back up the coast, probably only 2,000 metres of climbing, simple. And then a last little sting in the tail with a gravel section. Now, for me, Biking Man is a fantastic way of getting into ultra racing. Okay, weather is good. You don't need to worry about it being too cold, unless you're sending Jebel Shams at kind of midnight. And if you're doing that, then you probably should be able to cope with a little bit of cold weather. It's unlikely to rain, and if it does, it's going to be warm rain. So you don't need to take, fleece jackets, down jackets, leggings. You don't need as much kit as you would do for something like Inca Divide. Resupply is plentiful. As we'll see earlier, ultra cyclists think about food a lot, more than a lot. But in Amman, resupply is very, very plentiful. Okay, there will be a petrol station every 30 kilometres. There will be fruit sellers. There will be restaurants. There will be street-side cafes. There is plenty of place to get food, which is the most important thing. Okay, it's also considered a very safe country. It's certainly in the top 10 safest places in the world, according to I think the UN rankings. Traffic is generally light. This is what passes for a traffic jam in most parts of Oman. The drivers are generally very respectful and generally give you a very wide berth. So it's for anyone who's ridden through London, this is like cycling heaven. Okay? It's not like Al Qudra, you are going to see traffic, but it's not too bad. Now, the course is pretty flat, except for a couple of notable exceptions. Okay, the gravel shortcut and Jebel Shams. We still have the option of taking that gravel shortcut, even though it's a mandatory route. And this is probably about halfway up here, just as you get into the peak of it. Okay? This can save you significant time. If you're experienced at riding off-road, if you can ride an unsuspended bike fast, on a loose, rocky descent, then you can make up a lot of time. I reckon it saved me about 2.5 hours last year. Okay? But if you're not, then you could lose time walking down. So understand the route and understand your strategy and understand your strengths and weaknesses. If you're in any doubt, you can follow the recommended route, you stay on gravel, and you don't need to deal with any of this stuff. Personally, I love it. And then there's Jebel Shams. Okay. So here we're looking. This is from the top of the gravel shortcut, looking down into the valley. So those people who don't will come up the valley from Alhambra, and then we go all the way around the back and all the way up to pretty much the highest point you can see on this photo. It's about 12k of tarmac, 6k gravel, and 12k, and then another 6k of tarmac. And you have to go up it, get to that hotel at the point at the top, which is the first checkpoint, and then you come back down. So everybody has to do a minimum of 12 kilometres of gravel, but it's fairly straightforward. It's been regraded through the summer. People were doing it on TT bikes without too many issues, so it's not a massive problem. The hardest part is actually the tarmac section at the start. There's a 4-kilometre stretch. Probably looking at the people who've done this before. There's a 4-kilometre stretch which is just horrific. That's all I can say. It's not very nice at all. Okay? But even though you hit this with 320k in the legs, your mind has a way of overcoming. This is where you will first learn the joys of ultra racing. When you get to this climb and you realise that you can still do this. It doesn't matter how slow you go, doesn't matter if you get off and walk, because you will get to the top. And the checkpoints at the top, with a restaurant, with a hotel, you can eat, you can sleep. That's motivation enough to get you to the top of this climb, which I consider to be one of the top 10 climbs in the world. So how do you get ready for an event like this? And this is kind of the first kind of information section where I want to talk about the physiological preparation that you need to go through. So what you would consider the main bulk of training. Okay? Despite me talking about how hard Jebel Shams is, I think that everybody here, with the right preparation, can get ready for an event like this. Okay? Physical preparation is all about adapting your body to the demands of the event in question. When we're talking about ultra racing, that means being able to ride long. Okay? Time beats speed every time. Okay? Here's an example. Right, if I ride at 30k an hour, I might be able to do that for 10 hours. 10, 12 hours at 30k an hour. Let's say 10, I'm putting toast. So I've done 300 kilometres. Okay? If I'm now riding at 25k an hour, 25k, that's pretty on the flat, pretty straightforward. I can do that for 14 hours. I've now ridden 50 kilometres longer than the person riding faster. Okay? Time beats speed every day of the week. Okay? So how do we do that? And it's all about developing your aerobic base. Okay? Long hours in zone 2 are the core of everybody's preparation for this kind of race. 3 to 6 hours is the sweet spot. Okay? Just don't get tempted to keep pushing longer and keep pushing longer. Okay? When you go beyond 6 hours, the aerobic adaptation tails off, muscular damage increases. Okay? I do see people falling into the trap of going, I must do a 12-hour ride every weekend in order to get ready. 2 6-hour rides is 2 higher quality rides and you get a much better level of aerobic adaptation. Okay? It's not to say we don't do 12-hour rides. There's a really, really good reason for doing 2 or 3 of them as you get ready for this. But we'll go into that later. Okay? Now, we also want to work to lift our FTP. Don't ignore intensity. Okay? Anything you can do to raise your FTP lifts the speed at which your aerobic base can work out. Because although time trumps speed, if you can ride for 15 hours and you can do it a kilometre an hour faster and still ride the next day, then you're good. Okay? But then let's look at the specifics of the course. Jebel Shams is steep. There are 15, 16, 17% pitches. So work on that leg strength. Work on that 5-minute power. Because that will help you get up that climb doing less damage to your legs. And it's all about conserving your legs. That leads me on to a really, really, really important point, okay, which is about pace. And this is a difficult one for people to get right, okay. I've seen really, really good sport team riders, really, really good multi-day riders turn up at these events. They go off like a bat out of hell for the first 12 hours and then running in like first or second place. And then they stop. And then they realise they can't ride again the next day, okay. The goal of every day is to be able to ride tomorrow. So that means pacing is really important. Now here's a real world example of pacing in action. So James Hayden won TCR 2017-2018. Okay? This is taken from day 4 or 3 of his ride in 2017. He put all of his power on the internet and did a really good analysis of it. Okay, now let's look at some of these things. 18 hours of riding time. Okay, that's pretty standard for someone who's at the sharp end of a race like this. Don't think that everybody has to ride for 18 hours a day. You don't. Normalised power of 184. Okay. Now compare that to his stated FTP going into the race of 350 to 360. What that means is that ride to him felt like he was riding pretty much at 50% of FTP. That's a recovery ride. Okay? This guy is one of the world's best. And just a few days into the biggest race of his career, he's riding at recovery pace. Okay? Later on in the race, he was riding at 40% of FTP, practically crawling. Okay? But that's what allows you to race day after day after day. That's what allows you to start day 1 knowing you can ride on day 2. Start day 2 knowing you can ride on day 3. Okay? That's always got to be your mantra. It's about relentless forward motion. Okay? The tortoise always wins. Okay, now let's get back to the race last year. Okay? And help yourselves to pizza.
You were speaking about pizza. That was an important part in the preparation, was it?
Pizza's very not. My wife's a nutritionist, so she'd tell me every day pizza during the training phase. But when you're in race mode, anything goes. Back to the race last year, okay? Because I know some of you are here to actually hear the story of the race. The start line at the hotel in Barker was amazing. So whilst we did have a few of the world's best there, most of us were new to the world of ultra racing. So we're all excited, we're all nervous. And it's that amazing nervousness where you know you've prepared, you know you've trained, but you just don't know whether you're capable of doing what you're about to set off on. And that for me was one of the highlights of the whole race, that excitement of, geez, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. And then when the flag drops, you finally get underway. And you're like, yes, we're on the way. And the first 6 hours were a massive eye-opener for me, okay? Came out, straight onto the service road left with 5 others. We were the only 5 who went that way. Everybody else went down the main road into the main junction. So after 5 minutes, we had like a 2-minute lead because everybody got caught by the red lights. Oh, wow, 2-minute lead, 5 minutes into the race. It was amazing. Until 10 minutes later, everybody came past in a big pack because the no drafting rule is suspended for the first hour of racing. Lesson 1. Time on these things is measured in hours and days. It is not measured in minutes and seconds. Do not sweat over a minute here and a minute there, okay? Because I did for the first hour of my race, probably for the first 6 hours of my race. And at the end of the day, it was needless worry, okay? These things are measured in hours and days. And time kind of loses meaning when you're on such a big race. It's amazing. So this was taken probably 4 hours in. So you start early, you start at 3 a.m. So this is about 4 hours in, sun's coming up, you're making your way through the rolling foothills as you get towards the Hajjal Mountains. It's beautiful. I can remember 6 hours in, thinking it feels like we've hardly started. Yet here I was, battling the winds. I was somewhere down in 25th place, and we were already done 150k. But you're in this mindset that feels like nothing, which is quite an amazing place to be. And then the race turned around for me completely. Okay, as soon as we hit the turning point for the gravel shortcut, the majority of the riders had carried on down the main road, and they faced like 4 or 5 hours of headwinds going down the motorway. I turned left on the shortcut, which basically took you on a straight line through to the base of the climb of Jebel Shams. Suddenly I realised I was the first person going this way. Technically I wasn't. Carl there was the first person going that way, but because his tracker wasn't working, he didn't get any of the glory. So thanks for that, Carl. But you start questioning yourself. Why am I the only person going this way? I wasn't near the front of the field, I was in 25th. There were 24 people before me, not interested in doing what I felt was the race-winning move. Blimey. I started getting texts from friends going, "You're doing amazing, you're gonna be leading." And here the elation of the kind of the euphoria of this kind of race comes in. And the euphoria can come in all kinds of ways and moments, but for me, suddenly there I was, it was midday, the sun was shining, I was about to head to my favourite terrain, which is the gravel. I just stopped and eaten like 5 parathas in one go. Life was perfect. Now, the gravel shortcut does provide a real opportunity to gain ground, as I said. But this is where equipment choice can really affect your strategy as well. So, let's have a look at the bike. I want to go through what I'm going to be taking next time. And just as a kind of counterpoint to that, this is what I took last time. And there is a load of stuff on there that I did not need, that I will not be taking next time. So half of it gets thrown away, you just never use it. But that's a personal decision. So, what's gone? The spare shorts are gone, didn't need those. The shorts to wear at night when I was going to be having nice dinner in a hotel, don't need those. Bivy bag, don't need that, I'm going to wrap myself in a survival blanket. Sheep sleeping bag, definitely don't need that. Sleeping mat, what? I'm on a luxury holiday, so much stuff has been thrown away. So, now let's get to the bike. I'll talk through the bike and then we'll go through everything inside it that I'm taking. And whilst I'm doing that, I want you all to guess how much the total setup weighs without bottles, also without water and without food. So as it is, have a guess. I'll let you think about that one. Now you'll see all kinds of bikes at Biking Man. You will see TT bikes, you will see road bikes, you will see disc brake road bikes, you will see rim brake road bikes. You'll see people on aluminium wheels because they're afraid it's going to rain. You'll see people on carbon wheels because they want to go fast. All the way down to this end of the spectrum where you'll see people on gravel bikes because they want to take all the gravel shortcuts. This is my setup. There are a few changes since last year. Let me talk you through. Okay, so Roots Route RSL, it's their top-end titanium gravel race bike. Gravel bikes can come in all kinds of materials. It doesn't need to be titanium, doesn't need to be aluminium. I'm sure Wolfie's got some carbon ones there that he'll sell you for a very reasonable price. I'm on one of those races where it doesn't matter which bike you're on. I ride this because it's fast, it's light, and it's comfortable. Okay, and it's got my name on it. It helps. Okay. Now the main features that I've got this set up for, very specifically for me. So, what have I got on here? One by chainring. That's because I'm kind of a mountain biker and a gravel rider at heart. Okay. I find it's less for me to worry about. I'm running Di2. That's contentious with some people. For me, there's actually less to go wrong with Di2. It's less likely for me to snap a cable. All the electrical cables are running internally. I got through 6 days in Peru, only going through 60% of my battery charge. Okay? I've got the left one configured to change the rear as well as the right one, so I can drink with my right hand and change gear with my left hand. Now for me, why this is important is if you're coming down a cold descent, you're freezing cold, it's 2 degrees, the wind's blowing off the glaciers, if you've got hydraulic discs and electric gears, you can brake and you can change gear. Okay? If you've got rim brakes, cable actuated gears, you can struggle to change gear. But again, it's personal preference. Let's make sure I don't miss anything. Disc brakes for me are a must. I don't ever really ride without disc brakes now. I like going downhill fast. So even on the road, if you're coming down into some of the steep bends on Jebel Shams, I like to be able to stop quickly. Okay. And then getting into some of the more interesting details. So deep section rims, because it is a lot on road, it's 95% road. So that gives me a bit of an aero advantage. I'm running 30mm tyres, which is quite wide. It's actually narrower than I ran last year. Last year I ran 38mm gravel tyres. Brilliant on the off-road sections, a little bit pedestrian noisy on the road sections. So I've gone narrower and I've gone slick. Okay. You also need people on 25mm tyres. It's not a problem. And then on the back, that's currently gearing. So at the back, I've currently got 11/28. That's just for riding around that good run. For the race next year, I'll be running 11/32 at the back, probably 38 at the front. Okay. So massive low gear, 38/42, which will allow me to scale Jebel Shams like I was a mountain goat. But that gearing will probably top out at about 48 kilometres an hour. If I'm going faster than 48, I'm happy to be freewheeling. I'm not going to be getting involved in any sprints, so it's not a problem. Okay. Safety kit, lights. So I have rechargeable, very bright light on the front, 2 lights on the back. That basically allows me to get through probably 4 days without recharging my lights at all. In fact, I think in Peru, I don't think I recharge those at all. Cycling kit, you have to have something reflective, so I've been working to develop a special jersey which has that built in. You can go down to Dragon Mart and get something from something from there. Put that back down there so I don't forget it. Going with a big screen, navigation.
Deal about your headlight. How often would you need to charge that? Is that going to chew through more battery than the rear?
It does. Can I answer that question later?
Yeah, of course.
Cool. Garmin with a big screen, navigation is important. It does depend on exactly which event you're doing. It's more important than some than others. For a man, I was mainly navigating from my phone. I take my phone as well as my backup GPS device. Really important. Let's see what else we've got in here. Okay, gloves, mandatory safety equipment. You have to take gloves. I don't normally wear gloves, so I will take fingered gloves, because that's for keeping me warm when I'm coming down Jebel Shams. So my target will be to get to the top of there at 5 PM. I'll eat, and I'll turn around and I'll come back down and it'll be starting to get cold. I hate getting cold going down. Windproof. Okay, super lightweight one. It's not going to rain. It's not going to rain. If it does rain, it'll be a warm rain, so it'll be nice. I said that in Taiwan and it absolutely lashed it down. That's actually quite a bit lighter and smaller than my actual waterproof jacket. Come back to batteries. Survival blanket, another piece of emergency kit. Ask me, I'll show you a picture later. These are very, very handy when you want to go to sleep. But they take up no space. Just don't leave it at the side of the road in case you need it later on in the ride. Pump, another mandatory piece of equipment. You have to carry a pump. Okay? You will not be able to ride without a pump. You can carry gas as well. I'll always carry 2 gas canisters because I have to, in case I have to reseat 2 tubeless tyres. Hopefully I won't have to. Inner tubes, courtesy of Wolfie. Well, not courtesy, I have to pay for them, but these are actually super bling. I saved 140 grams over normal inner tubes with those. But hopefully, again, I never have to use those, so it doesn't matter if they were expensive. I rode 4,500 kilometres last year in races through all kinds of road conditions. Didn't have a single puncture. Running tubeless. If you're in any doubt, run tubeless. And then battery. It's important to think about how you're going to charge things. Okay? I carry 2 batteries and a whole load of cables. We'll come to the cables. So 2 batteries. There's a lot of different options around charging. So remember, I've got lights that need charging. I've got front and rear. I've got a Garmin. I've got a phone, which tends to get used for Facebook Live. I've got a GoPro, which I'll be doing some stuff with as well. Okay, so I need to recharge these things. You can't run out of Garmin and you can't run out of lights. There's probably 2 main options. One is power banks. The other one is a dynamo hub. Dynamo hubs are quite heavy, and there's a little bit of drag. These are cheap, and they are light, and they work. And if you're in the middle of Taiwan and you didn't take in a battery power because you thought your race was going to be a lot quicker, you can always go to a 7-Eleven and buy a new one. Okay, so always take those. I won't be taking a charger because I know they'll get me through 3 days of racing, and I will be done in 3 days. Honest. Chargers for everything. Just so I don't forget. Headphones. 15 hours on a bike is a long time. Okay, you will learn to love podcasts. You will learn to love long songs. You will learn to love Kerry's playlists, which kept me going through the whole of Inca Divide. I use Bluetooth ones. Yes, it's another battery charger or another cable, but it's nice not to have cables laying around everywhere. But go with whatever you wish. And then we're nearly there. Tyre boot. Okay, so anyone not know what a tyre boot is? Okay, good. One of those. No? Tyre boot is if you get so I'm running tubeless, and this is the same if you're running tubes as well. So if I get a small hole, sealant seals it up. If I get a bigger hole, I cross my fingers, the sealant seals it up. If it doesn't, and I put an inner tube in. If I get a big split, and the inner tube is bulging out to the side wall, then I've got a tyre boot in. If you don't have one of these, then 10 dirham note works very well, or a 5 Omani Real note works well, an empty gel wrapper works well. As long as it's got quite a high plastic content, so it doesn't stretch too much, you can mend the tyre with a lot of things. Probably also what I'll do is I'll always take some duct tape and some electrician's tape wrapped around that, because that can always help as well. And there should in here, but there's not, be some zip ties. So between duct tape, zip ties, you can fix pretty much anything to get you to the next bike shop. And then the rest of my toolkit. This one also came from this as well. It's almost like an advert. Right, arms. Just to take the chill off at night. Like I say, my man should be really, really warm, so you don't need to take too much in the way of warm kit. In Inca Divide, I had warmer arms, I had a down jacket, I had a waterproof, I had a head warmer, etc., etc. Suntan cream. You will get burned if you don't have suntan cream. The challenge is remembering to put it on, because everybody forgets and everybody gets burnt on day one. Tool, fix the essential things, small and light, know what might need adjusting and know how to adjust it. Things will probably go wrong. Final bit of the tyre piece, tyre patches. So now I've got my tyres in, I've got my tyre boot in, I've got the inner tubes in, If I now get a puncture, I can still mend it. If I've gone through 2 inner tubes, a tyre boot and 6 patches, then I've really had a bad day. And I probably should think about scratching anyway. Tyre levers, 2 of. Chain link tool, if you need to repair your chain, breaks your chain, carry spare magic links with you. There's a chain breaker in there, so I can always fix my chain if I break it. Again, chains shouldn't break, but you never know. I tend to change mine every 3 months because that's about 5,000 kilometres, which is how long they last. Love it. And then the secret weapon. This is caffeine chewing gum. Each stick of caffeine chewing gum contains the equivalent of about 4 espressos, I think, or 3 espressos. It's 100 milligrams per stick of chewing gum. Just my advice, don't eat it and then half an hour later decide to go to bed, because you won't. You'll be lying awake in your bed staring at the ceiling, wondering why there's a rave going on in there. So that is everything that I will be taking. Aero bars, mainly for comfort. Allows you to take the weight onto your skeletal system and off your muscular system. You find you get pain here and pain here. As soon as you go onto your aero bars, you can relax, your skeleton supports you. And it narrows your frame, so you are in a little bit more of an aero position. So, yeah, that's it. Who wants to guess how much it weighs?
23 kilograms.
23 kilograms. Any advance on 23? 11. Any advance?
15.
10, 15, 17. It's actually 11.2 when I weighed it yesterday.
Wow. I was counting 2 weights.
That's about as light as you will get. There's not much more I can shave off there. But compare that to Inca Divide, I was carrying 16 kilos of kit. Plus there I was carrying a lot more food as well. Yeah, that's it. Any questions on that later, you can grab it and we can talk it through. Kit is, some of it is personal, some of it you have to go on the learning experience. You have to go on that journey of saying, I'll take that, and then next time you go, well, I didn't need that. So I'm sure, if I look at the guys and girls who've done any of the events this year, we all started the first race with too much stuff, okay? And we all felt we left something behind. The key is practice that, so you can figure it out as much as you can before you go. Okay.
Then we talk about the most important item right in the middle, actually. A little great tub, sort of thing.
Suda creme? Alright, okay, yeah, no, I'm not taking any this time. You're not taking it? No. I've got my setup dial, so I've not used it since a man.
A brave man.
Yeah, but after a man, I was fairly broke. That's a different story, not one for now. Not when I'm broadcasting live on the internet.
Change it, any chain oil?
Chain oil, right, so I did take it last year. What I now use is I have a very thick wet lube that I only use for ultra racing, because yes, it attracts the dirt, but it will last me 5 days, okay? I'm not fussed about cleaning when I get back. Normally around here I just use some dry wax, that's perfect. You take that, the minute you hit any water, boom, it's gone. Even if you don't hit any water, 400k later, it's gone. So I use a very heavy wet lube. Okay? But again, a lot of that comes with practice. So you'll see there, last year I took an extra set of dry lube. When you're at races, you might find them giving out packs of lube. So when we were at the Tour of Cambridgeshire in the UK in the summer, the guy there carried this big box of little sachets, just one-time use sachets. So I was like, can I take 10? And he went, certainly. Brilliant. So that covers you, and then you can use it, throw it away. So back to the race. So I got to the top of the gravel shortcut. It was beautiful, it was amazing. Wickedly fast descent. And I came out at the bottom of the climb in 4th position. Thought I was 3rd at the time because Carl's tracker still wasn't working. Rodney came roaring past me as I was filling up with water. So I jumped and I chased him up the mountain. And I arrived at the top of Jebel Shams in 5th place, and I was probably, it's fair to say, in a little bit of shock at this point. And you can tell the experienced ultra racers by the way they eat. It's kind of a carefully controlled inhalation of probably 3 dinners at once. So I was there going, oh, I'm here, I'm in 5th. Whoa. Checking Facebook, taking pictures, talking to people, whereas Rodney and Josh were literally just shoveling food in as fast as they could go. So once I'd eaten, set off, I was happy, I was getting down the descent in the daylight. Surely no one would be crazy enough to come down this at night, that's just lunacy. And I made it as far as Niswa that night. I bumped into Carl in Alhambra. We rode side by side into Niswa, shared a hotel room. And we were both super pleased. We were, because we'd taken another shortcut, we were in like second place on the road, 20k clear of fourth place. Amazing, what a day. And no one would be stupid enough to come down the mountain in the dark, right? Okay. My Garmin and I did have a little disagreement as to how long a recovery time I was allowed. For those who can't read, that says 3.5 days. I think I've done 376 kilometres with about 5,500 metres of climbing. It's a bit of a big day. Okay. Lesson 2, people don't sleep much. Imagine your horror. Carl had set an alarm earlier than me, so he was up and gone. I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, check the track and realise I'd gone from 2nd to 10th. People had not just ridden up shams in the dark, people had ridden down shams in the dark, people had ridden through the dark, through the night. There was me thinking everyone needed to sleep, and I'm like, oh wow, people just don't. I was now about 150 kilometres behind first place. Okay? The competitors were spread out over about 250 kilometres of road, and we'd only been racing for like 25 hours. It's amazing. But even though we were spread out over all that time, one of the amazing things about this race is the sense of camaraderie between the competitors. So although we were spread out over 250 kilometres of road, we all felt connected. There was a WhatsApp group that everybody was talking to each other on. So you'd know what I would know what Renette was up to. Carl wasn't really saying much except my tracker's not working. You knew front to back what everyone was doing. And that's the same with all of these races throughout the whole year. There's this real sense of camaraderie. And here we can see Carl with some of the locals. The locals were fascinated by what we were doing. Oh, you're doing what? You've come from where in how many hours? Amazing interest in it. Again, it's the same wherever you go. It's just, when they see you riding a bike like this and they hear these stories, they just want to know more. It's brilliant. Anyway, so I continue to hammer down the flatter sections of the course. Brilliant. Really, really good. I went past Carl asleep on a bus stop somewhere. Great, getting one place back. And then the leader got thrown out for drafting. He was drafting behind his mum's hire car. Okay, big no-no. Luckily he was caught in town. So, really, really good day. Again, covered massive distances that day. Generally flat, warm weather, so really good for someone who's acclimatised to the heat here in Dubai. Making great progress. And then at 8 PM that night, that's when it all came crashing down around my ears. Lesson 3. It is all about the food. If you take one thing away from tonight, it's the fact you have to eat, and then eat, and then eat some more. Okay? Anybody who's done one disagree with me? You're going to say, yes, I get to eat loads. Okay. I may have been giving you the impression that this is a bike race. This is not a bike race. This is an eating competition on 2 wheels. Okay? Here's an example. So this was my hardest day in the whole year. Okay? Hardest single day in terms of calorie burn, intensity factor, power output. This was day 1 in Corsica. Let's have a look. 19 hours riding time. I think it was 24 hours elapsed time. Let's have a look. Distance, 371k. 7,743 metres of climbing. Okay, so nearly an Everesting in 24 hours whilst covering 371k at an ultra race pace. Okay. Calories burned, nearly 10,000. How many bananas is 10,000 calories? Anyone know? Have a guess. How many bananas is 10,000 calories? 30. 30, 50. Any advance on that? Come on. You're not allowed to answer because you're a nutritionist. Who said 100? Okay. Hella at the back there got 100. It's 95. 95 bananas. 95 bananas in 19 hours. How many bananas an hour? It's 5 bananas an hour, or 1 every 12 minutes. Could you imagine eating a banana every 12 minutes for 19 hours? I kind of can, but I don't want to think about the consequences, okay? Now, you can't. You just cannot eat 10,000 calories, okay? Luckily, as I talked about when we were talking about physiological preparation, we're predominantly riding zone 1, zone 2, okay? So we are predominantly using fat as an energy source, but we still need to eat. Has anyone ever, that's 4 days worth of calorie intake. Anyone tried to fast for 4 days and ride from Schalke to the top of Tunnel 2 and back every day for 4 days? Without eating. Silly idea, isn't it? So we need to eat, we have to fuel the body, okay? I normally work on at least 50 to 70% of the calories you burn, you have to take in. So that's still 5,000 to 7,000 calories per day whilst you're riding your bike with minimal downtime, okay? How do we do this? Okay, you ain't going to be able to go into this nice little restaurant, have avocado on toast with a poached egg and a nice salad, okay? The clock is ticking, and there's nowhere like that where we're riding in a man, okay? The minute you stop, that clock starts ticking. You're not moving, you're not moving, you're not moving. So you go into the supermarket, and when you see an experienced racer, it's like supermarket swoop. They literally, they know exactly what they're after. Right, 2 cans of Coke, coffee, 2 ice creams, what else? 2 packs of salted crisps, 4 packs of Oreos, 2 packs of Haribo, 2 large sandwiches. That was my average kind of haul every 4 hours in Peru. And then you go outside, okay, you drink the coffee, you drink the 2 cans of Coke, you eat a packet of the crisps, okay, you eat your 2 ice creams, you eat one of your sandwiches, what else have I got in there, okay, you stuff your Oreos in here. Okay, Oreos are like wonder food, as many Oreos packets as you can get a day, 2 Haribo bags down the bottom, okay, you've stuffed all this food in, water into your bottles and away you go again. Okay, it's in and out, supermarket sweep style. Alternatively, you could do what I did at my first race, which is you wander in and you go, geez, I'm tired. Oh God, none of that looks appetising. What do I want? And you kind of walk around the shop going, no, that's not my favourite brand of crisps, I don't like that. Nuts, oh no, they're raw, they're not salted. Oh God, those egg sandwiches, I hate egg sandwiches. And you kind of walk around the shop for 15 minutes going, I just really can't find anything. And you end up buying not a lot, not enough. You sit outside, you maybe have half a sandwich, half a can of Coke, you fill up your bottles with water, you put your 1 bag of sweets back in there, and then you set off going again. What happens is you get another 2 hours and then it all goes horribly wrong. And that's what happened to me. This is how my day 2 nearly ended in a man. 2 hours slogging into a headwind after stopping where I had just one of these experiences. I walked in, couldn't find anything. Left, didn't eat enough, didn't put enough food in. 2 hours into a headwind, like, you know, gone dark, heading up towards Sur, needed 4 hours to get to Sur, just nowhere near enough. And I ground to a halt. I was almost in tears because I couldn't turn the pedals. I was an emotional wreck, okay? I limped to a cafe by the roadside, okay? And the first thing you do when that happens is you eat. So I got to this cafe, okay? Coke, 2 Cokes, coffee, burger and chips, and a second bag of chips, and some water. Okay? You eat all of that. I'm on a Snickers bar, I think. All of that, boom, down it goes. Suddenly you're feeling great again. I'd already booked ahead to say I want to stop in Sur, which was probably another 35k, because I thought I would never make it. I ate all this food, jump back on your bike, woohoo! I'm a superhero again, you can ride. Food is amazing when you're feeling tired. Eat, and you will probably find you can carry on. Okay? So I get to Sur, and I'm just making that mental decision that I want to carry on. Yes, it's 10 o'clock at night, I'm going to carry on, I'm going to race through the night, and I'm going to get to the finish line. This is going to be awesome. Despite the fact that my saddle sore was now really starting to kick in, and my knee was killing me. And then I see the blinking lights on my front light. My back light, one had already gone, and the other one was very, very low. I'm like, jeez. I plug in the battery's dead. Just as I was ready to push on through the night, just when I made that mental commitment to do it, my ride management let me down. And this is kind of the final area I want to cover in terms of getting yourselves ready for these kinds of races. Okay? Ride management is crucial. And what do I mean by ride management? Well, a self-supported ultra race is kind of like Formula 1. It's not won or lost by how fast you are. It's won or lost about how little time you spend in the pits. It's won or lost by your fueling strategy. So on an ultra race, it's won or lost by, how do you plan your food? Okay. We've already seen that my lack of focus in the supermarket caused me major problems. You need to plan these things. You need to have a process for them. How do you manage your charging? Now I was running out of battery. Turns out I'd left my light on too high a setting, so I burned through my light in 3 hours. If I'd have remembered to put it on the right setting, it would have lasted me 12 and I'd have been through to the finish line. Okay. Where's my charging cables? Where do they sit? What do I do when I get to a restaurant? What do I do when I stop at a hotel? What's my process for making sure I'm swift and efficient at getting off my bike, getting things charging, getting into bed and getting some sleep? All of these things go to form your ride management, and that is crucial to getting right. I've got everything there. But this is what I love about it. This is why I love this kind of racing. It's not about who's fastest. It's not about who can sleep the least, although those things do contribute. But it's about who can make intelligent decisions, who can plan their ride, who can execute that management strategy of their ride well, who can stop the least in the supermarkets, who goes into every supermarket knowing exactly what they need to buy to get 3,000 calories, who can manage that 3-hour window to eat those 3,000 calories or 2,000 calories or whatever. There are so many things that make this more than just riding your bike hard, and that's what I love about it. You do those bits right, you can ride at an average of 20k an hour, maybe even less, and finish a man inside 5 days. It's not about riding fast, it's about riding clever. And it's about making clever decisions and the right decisions. Okay? So my smart racing involved running out of battery lines, crashing into this hotel room. Luckily I remembered to put things onto charge, but I just fell into bed fully clothed and fell asleep. But sleep was kind of hard to come by. I think I got about 2 hours and I'm wide awake again. Eyes popping out of the stalks. People texting me going, are you moving? Are you racing? Are you not? Are you sleeping? What are you doing? So I spent 2 hours in this hotel and I come out downstairs past the night porter I'd seen 2 hours earlier. He looks at me. It's very rare that people rent a room for 2 hours. And I set off. Just 210k to go. 210k, 2,000 metres of climbing. So a little bit harder than the coast to coast. It's nothing, that's like, 7 or 8 hours, bang, I'll be home and finished. Like I said, it's amazing how your perception of distance just changes, your perception of time changes. I still had race mode switched on though. I saw Carl asleep on the side of the motorway wall. Only what I didn't do was think to carry on pedalling. I freewheeled past it, and the noise of my freewheel woke him up. And I just remember clearly me looking back as Carl leapt up. I was like, oh, got on his bike and started chasing. Like I say, it's accepted on these races to ride side by side with people. So Carl and I had an amazing 2 or 3 hours riding side by side, chatting about the race, looking at, sharing our experiences of it and what have you. And it was great. But we'd gone without food for 5 hours. Everything was shut. We didn't buy enough food. So I did 5 hours and 2 bottles of water and an oat bar. I was desperate for that cafe to arrive. We arrive in the cafe. Cheesy pancakes with honey? Yeah, amazing. So it was like Michelin 3-star food. It was lovely. And the worst coffee in the world that somehow tasted amazing. And there was Jason, looking destroyed. He'd been pushing hard to stay with Rodney, 5 punctures. He had a 1,000-yard stare. There was nothing beyond the iron stare. Boom, we're now racing for 5th place. Racing head still on. Always know your route. So I knew that there was one option, because I knew he was stronger than me. I knew there was one option where if I cut off the motorway, I could cut through a village, 5k later rejoin the motorway, and it would be about 500 metres shorter. And if I knew if I came out 500 metres ahead of him, he would lose the will to live. Plus I know that his navigation had gone to a halt, whereas I turned on turn-by-turn directions at this point. So I hit it, and I hammer it. Only it's like hammering through treacle, because you've done 1,000 kilometres and your legs just aren't working. And I came up and literally I looked back, and there he was. And it was like the slowest time trial you've ever seen in your lives. So we raced the last 30 kilometres to the finish. And, I finished about 5 minutes ahead of him. 5th and 6th place. But you know, that picture for me is just everything about the whole event, because we raced pretty much back and forth for the whole time. Amazing experience. I was 53 hours, by the way, about 8 behind the winner. It was quite possibly the best thing I'd ever done on a bike at that point. Okay, but it's not about the race. These photos show it's about the people that you meet. Fellow crazies, as we're called. Everybody, whether they were at the front or at the back, just had a shared experience that, unless you do one of these things, you just can't understand. I've made friends for life, and it's been a truly life-changing experience. All 4 of them have been life-changing in a certain way, but that first one, nothing beats that first one. So if you're thinking about it, if you're not sure, give it a go. Okay, that's all I want to talk about tonight. I do have 3 other people here to help me answer questions. So we're going to do a Q&A panel now. So ask us anything. So I've got, let's say, who have I got? I've got Simon. So Simon raced Oman, raced Corsica as a solo. He and his riding partner Romain were the winners of Taiwan pairs. Renette was the 3rd lady in Oman and also raced in Taiwan. Christian, rode in Taiwan. Just one of the most epic rides I've ever seen. So we've got a full range of experiences from all 4 races this year. So I'll open the floor up to you, and I'll hand out to people as necessary.
Did you find it difficult sort of riding blind? And you know, I guess you'd liken it to when you're driving a road for the first time and your fuel gauge is nearly on empty and you have no idea where the gas station is. So in terms of when you're riding along, you sort of said there was food stops regularly, but then you said at night time things were closed. Was that sort of like something that would play on your mind and you going like...
Carl, you were with me at that point. What was going through your mind?
And would you ever recce a route in a car in advance to gain that kind of advantage over your competitors if you ever do a long race again?
The difference between his experience of his route recce's, I was jealous of and thinking, I wish I'd done that. Both of us for the food and drink on that, it was about 5 hours or so. Probably got about that much water left and not wanting to drink it because you don't know how far you've got to go. So,
but does that kind of play on your mind a little bit as well? You know, you sort of like...
Constantly.
Yeah.
Because you're just wondering how many sips to take, when to have something to eat and what you've got left. So...
in the Inca Divide, in the last 4 hours of the race, I was actually rationing out what I had. I had 2 Snickers bars and a caffeine nut. And I was saying, when I get to an hour, I'm going to have this. When I get to another hour, I'm going to have this. Absolutely plays on your mind, because the minute you can't eat, you know that if you don't eat, you're going to start losing the plot and you're going to start making silly decisions. So it absolutely plays on your mind. In terms of the recce, absolutely. I mean, Renette and I went over to recce both Double Shams and the Gravel Shortcut, and that was massively important in terms of my decisions during the race strategy. So you know, you have to make the most of being out here, right? We can go and look at the race. You know, the people I'm coaching for a man, we're going to do 2 trips there to make sure we all know what's going on.
Did you realise the guy that got disqualified was something wasn't right when you were looking at the track?
You had to get caught.
Like
So the organisers kind of thought he was pushing on very quick there, so they went to have a look. For us, look, you're just riding your race. You kind of, geez, that guy's quick. You kind of assume he's just quicker than you.
How do you pick a good spot to sleep? You're talking about people sleeping on park benches and the side of motorways and things. What's a good spot?
What's the
Well,
brief?
Carl, I mean, I'm gonna let Carl answer first, and then I'm gonna hand to both Renette and Simon to share some of their interesting sleeping spot strategies, whilst I look for a photo.
I think I just got to that stage where I was getting a bit dizzy on one occasion, got a bit tired and thought, I might fall off my bike, come to a stop, lay on the floor, took my shoes off, set my phone for 10 minutes, and that was it. The phone went off, got up and carried on cycling.
Or I rode past
3
that.
times.
I rode past 3 weeks and
Only
only
3
jumped in and
minutes.
started riding.
You basically, if you need to sleep, you need to sleep. If you need to take a break. So, Kiri and I ended up in abandoned buildings. So I'm a little bit more conservative than that. I'll go and look to see that there's no doors, there's maybe no snakes around. If someone comes off the road, that they won't kill me. So I'll go a little bit deeper. You can find places where you take your tail pack or what have you, put it underneath your bed, sleep for 30 minutes, 60 minutes, and you go.
Is there a reasonable to actually look for hotels along the way?
Oh, Booking.com is
They're all
brilliant.
expensive.
Let me be clear, there are alternative hotel internet booking sites. So this is Rodrigo, who again raced quite a few of the races last year. I came across him at the end of day 1 in Taiwan. Day 1 in Taiwan was just brutal. Humidity, rain, snakes, dead snakes, live snakes, monkeys, everything you could possibly imagine. I got to this village and I was mentally gone. My plans of pushing on to checkpoint 2 had gone out the window. I'd mentally checked out. So I found a hotel. You fire up your map, find a hotel. Oh, that one will do. Is it on Booking.com? Yeah, perfect. Away I go. And then outside the door of the hotel, I found Rodrigo. And he kind of stirred as I came, wrapped in his survival blanket. I told you, survival blankets, amazing. And he stirred and he looked at me. I said, dude, I'm going to get a hotel room. Why do you? No, I'm good here. I'm good here. About 20 minutes earlier, I found Sufyan wrapped up on the side of the road in the middle of the jungle. I mean, I would not have done that because I hate snakes. There were snakes everywhere. And like, didn't you like bang on the door of a hotel room?
I said in the supermarket. At some point you can sleep anywhere.
Do people just feel sorry for you and don't bother you, or?
They just let us there. They were impressed, like teams.
No one invited you in?
People.
Sorry?
No one invited you into them?
No. By that stage, the people kind of, I think they give you a wide berth. Smell like you after 2 days of racing, you stink.
Two people pull over in a 4x4, driving through the night, and they were like, "Are you okay? What are you doing? Riding at night?" And they're like, "Can we take you somewhere, or you need a lift?" No, it's okay. They're so helpful.
Are there any rules about, in that regard, like for example, you've got to complete the whole route and you've got to complete it with outside assistance, but like if you do race across America, you can leave the course to go somewhere as long as you come back to the same point you started from?
I'm not entirely sure of the precise rules in Biking Man, but I think they are similar to things like TCR, where if you have an issue, you can ride to a point off the route to get assistance. As long as it's available to all riders, and then you have to ride back to the point at which you were, and then you carry on the race. We had too many.
So reference in Canada, there was a hotel that was not on the route, but it was half a K down the road.
Absolutely. As long as you kind of leave the route, you go to the hotel, you stop, and then you come back to the route again. That's fine. If you kind of do that and then do that, then it's kind of pretty obvious from your tracking. So we all carry spot trackers. So our route is updated to the internet all the time, and some of you here will have been dot watching as we go around these races, and dot watching itself can become highly addictive.
Bike shops. Are there any?
No,
Right.
is the simple answer. There is one in Alhambra. You might be able to buy some oil there. You might be able to buy the wrong side of the tube. I don't know. Certainly around Amman, even in Muscat, I think we struggled with getting bike boxes for people to fly back again. Again, it depends where you are. You know, when we were in Corsica, yes, there were bike shops, but we were racing on a Sunday and a bank holiday Monday, so everything is shut.
The shops are, all the food restaurants are shut from 1 AM or midnight and 3 to 5.
can be earlier than that. I think, and again, it depends which part of the course you're on and which country you're racing in. So for most of Oman, a lot of the kind of motorway service stations were open. Some would open at 4, those at midnight. But I think the section that Carl and I were on, it was very light on service stations, and they all seemed to be closed. But in Sur, things were open till 2 a.m. If I thought to stop and buy loads of food before I left, I'd been alright. But that's the kind of thing you learn as you go. But also that's why looking and understanding your route and knowing what's going to be there is important. And doing the research up front as well. Like those of us going to Corsica who knew what France was like, were like, oh, hang on, starting on a Sunday and then a bank holiday Monday, nothing is going to be open, and we're going through the heartland of Corsica where there is nothing. So most people who thought about it in advance were carrying Rodney, a Peruvian guy, had a big bag of white powder this big, and I was always carb mix. I had these full, I had my pockets full of sandwiches. We had enough to ride kind of like 11 hours without needing to get more food. Water's fine, but food we had enough to ride 11 hours. Peru, you can always stop. Peru, there was always a restaurant where you could get lomo saltado, and it's amazing because that's like the best. That alongside noodles in a 7-Eleven in Taiwan is the best ultra food you're ever going to get. So you need to just think about, where am I racing, what time am I going to be racing through various sections.
Those 2 bottles, is that enough for water?
I found so, yes. I think technically...
Even when you may have water?
Yeah, technically I have to carry 1.5 litres, so I just start with an extra half-litre bottle in my back pocket, and I'll just keep adding those in as necessary, just because I'm short, so there's no space in the frame, and I'd rather, for me, I carry a frame bag rather than a tail pack, just because I can get into things a bit easier, and it centralises the weight a bit more. Some people carry tail packs and they can put bigger bottles in.
Just a note on that, I tried in doing Oman with one of the camel packs, because I drink a lot of water, I sweat a lot, and I took it off after about 300k. It's just because she's sitting in the same position for so long that just becomes really crazy. And I used to do mountain biking with backpacks all the time, no problem. But that just seemed to be different. So I haven't tried backpacks again, camel packs, and I just take bigger bottles than those, your standard big one, and then an extra.
So is there now somebody walking around a man with a very nice...
Yes, I lived it with a chef.
Some better ones.
But he's very happy.
How do you deal with pain? Anything from like an old injury that suddenly appears, or like muscle pain in the neck, or some sores or whatever?
So,
do you take painkillers? Do you take water? What do you do?
Yeah, I mean, people take different forms of painkillers, and obviously depending on what country you're in, you can buy different forms of painkillers over the counter. A lot of it, you suffer, you accept the pain. I mean, in Oman, I was suffering from knee pain and sandsore, and I was in pieces by the end of it. Yeah.
Did you take anything?
Did I? No, because I'm allergic. I'm allergic to paracetamol, and I'm allergic to all non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, so I can take like aspirin. That's
What about anyone else?
Can I answer that one quickly? When I did Taiwan, I had that collapse take water. So the first day I was in so much pain, I was crying, I was pushing, I was, in short, it's like if you've got lactic acid build up in the leg and you just can't go anymore. So that would happen all the time and you'd have to ride through it. Wasn't taking any medication for it either, because somewhere along the line I've read that if you take anti-inflammatories or something and you exercise, it can give you renal problems. So I didn't take anything for it. But this is where what Neil said earlier on, where it comes all into play. Now, your mind is so strong that you can block out what you don't want to feel. Okay? And it's dangerous in a way, but it also helps because all of those negative little things you put in the back of your mind, and it's amazing how you can see what your body can do in situations like that. And that's what he was talking about, is how far can you push yourself? what is your body do, how does it react to things, and you learn so much. In my case, it just blocked out. The moment I stopped, all the pain came back again. So, yeah, it's
So
just
there were two people who had to pull out of a man because of injury. One guy, Michael, slipped coming out of the cafe and broke his arm. And then another girl got what's called Sharma's neck. So Sharma's neck is very common amongst long distance racers, where basically like your head weighs 6 kilos. So you're carrying your head here on your aero bars for days at a time, and then your neck muscles fail. And what happens is you can't lift your head. So you're riding along like this. And you can lift your head like this and ride like this for a while. And so she was riding like this, and it would drop down again. So yeah, that's not what you do about that one, no, other than rest.
What do you do with all your gear that you fly over there with? So obviously you have street clothes, you have your bike box and everything else. Is there mechanism within the race organisers to store all that stuff or something else while you're racing? Especially if you're starting and finishing in the same place.
Yeah,
and if you're not.
And I think this is why Biking Man is a great way of getting into this kind of racing, because they do a lot for you. You'll go to the start of the hotel and the start hotel in a man. They will take your bike box and your bag to the finish line. So when you get to the finish line, you can pick up your clothes. Similarly, in Taiwan they stored our stuff. In Peru they stored our stuff. So it just makes it a little bit easier. I know we were talking about TCR earlier. TCR next year is going to start in Bulgaria and finish in France. You have to get whatever you need to get from start to finish. The organisers there, it's very, it's a slightly different ethos and mentality where you're responsible for getting your stuff from start to finish. So whatever you turn up with in Bulgaria, you either throw away or you carry with you.
My friends said you buy things for them, you just buy clothes to wear, whatever's available on the shelf.
Pretty much. Maybe you can do that. You can do that on the way through. I mean, I ran into issues in Taiwan where it took longer than I thought, so I was running out of battery power. Luckily, Taiwan, you just go to any 7-Eleven, you buy a new power bank, plug it straight in, and away you go. So you can just get things as you go along. And clothes, Renette and Kerry were sporting some lovely plastic ponchos as the torrential rain hit in Taiwan. So there's always stuff that you can do and stuff that you can get to help you get through the day.
Did you ever contemplate using mountain bike shoes? Because you mentioned the guy slipped, and then on Reike, when he was in Thailand, did exactly the same thing. And I did this 6-day tour in Thailand, and I used mountain bike shoes for that very exact reason. That you're getting on and off the bike, you're walking off and everything else, and I just found it a lot more convenient than not. Did you ever consider that?
I think a lot of that is personal preference. There are pros and cons in both. Road shoes and road cleats, you can generally get more precise fit on, and you get better transfer of power to the pedal. Road cleats, yeah, you can jump off and on and off the bike. I used mountain bike shoes in Oman, and I wish I'd used road shoes. I used road shoes in Peru, and I wish I'd used mountain bike shoes. So it does depend on the course as well.
I was wondering about assistance. If someone offers you a bottle of water, say friendly people who offer, can you accept that? Or is that called support?
What's other people's interpretation? Generally, my interpretation of that is that friendly person is going to offer any of the competitors a bottle of water. So that's fine. If it's someone you knew was going to be there, if I had my wife driving along and said, "Oh, here, have a bottle of water," that's support. Do you agree?
What you kind of need is Deliveroo. So when you get to a
town,
you order the order.
Deliveroo.
A guy that was doing a race and he had packages sent to the post office and he was going.
Yes, that was the one we
That's
watched.
very race.
Is that America or
Yeah.
Australia?
No, it was American.
Yeah, and he was just on powdered food.
Yeah. It's a commercially available service open to everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody can do that. So yes, Deliveroo is available to everybody.
So chase me down the road.
Chase me down the road. Deliveroo go, yeah. Hello.
Little man on the motorbike.
Can I send you my GPS coordinates?
It's live tracking.
Yeah, I'm here. Into this website.
So really it's about GPS location and all of that. And I'm using credit cards, it's like, yeah, cash. find a problem with
So the good thing about ultra racing is it's very, 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 very cheap. Hotels will go through booking.com, so they will take credit cards.
Very, very cheap.
Okay, that makes sense. Once you've got that, it's pretty cheap. So yeah, I mean, hotels will take credit cards. Other than that, like 100 Omani, well, not even that, 50 Omani Real will get you through. What's that? $500 would get you through the whole race, pretty much. And I think there were enough places where you could get cash out if you needed. So the big places like Sur would have cash. It is where you could get cash, and Muscat you could get cash.
Just carry small notes. Best thing to do is all the service station.
And sometimes if you don't have money, they'll just say, "Doesn't matter, take it anyway." We've had that happen to us in a service station in Amman before. They just said, "We've only got this." Oh, don't worry, then just take the food. It's that kind of place. It's awesome.
There's plenty of water because there's all the mosques. People just don't get nice and rich.
Any more questions?
about safety in case accident happens. The organization does. Maybe followed by fostering boys like riding.
I think it depends on what goes wrong. It's a self-supported race. You are there to look after yourself. So you Michael broke his arm, got himself to hospital.
Yeah, but something that you can't continue. You can't pick you up.
No, if you can't continue, you jump in a taxi.
Oh,
Or get a train. You know, this is not. There's potentially 100 riders. So, and you know, probably 2 media cars, so they can't be going and picking people up. It is a self-supported race. It's that kind of adventure that you're going on. Don't be going into this thinking that you can just call Fred and say, look, I'm having a bit of a tough day, come and pick me up. If that's your mindset, this probably isn't the kind of race for you. If your mindset is, I'll get myself out of what I've got myself into, then it's the perfect race for you.
Is there an emergency number within the organisation that you could ring, or you could ring if there was such an issue?
You would always keep them abreast of what was going on. So there's a WhatsApp group. You can call and tell them what's going on, but you shouldn't do that expecting them to come and rescue you.
There's an SOS button on your tracker that you hold down. It's literally if you paralyze, you can't move and you can't phone, you push your SOS button and they'll send a helicopter out for you, which you'll pay for.
Because that will trigger search and rescue.
And that will be an SOS situation.
But did you find your own WhatsApp group amongst your friends,
Yes.
kind of like your own support network within one another in terms of?
Absolutely. Everybody will have their own army of dog watchers, and it's amazing.
He's off cutting a pee.
Yeah, pretty much. Where's he going now? I think this is because everyone can see where you are pretty much at all times. There's this little bouncing dot moving around the country. So everybody, they wake up in the morning and go, where's he gone? Where's he gone? People you don't know. I've had people come up to me at Al Qudra who I have no idea who they are. And they come up to me and go, I was watching your dot the whole way round wherever it was. It was amazing. I'm like, okay. It just becomes addictive. People just, they watch you. And then they'll text you, they're like, oh, you're doing this, you're doing that. And like I said, the camaraderie between all the races as well. So we'll have a WhatsApp group, so we're all chatting to each other. We know what's going on, you know when someone's in trouble or not in trouble. Races would help out.
Do you then help each other? And maybe ask about the programs like, or would you help someone? If you see they're on the side, they're in trouble and you're passing them?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You would, because the other racers' safety is paramount. Our safety is paramount. If they were just not being, if they were asking for help that they could do themselves, you'd probably go, you can do that and carry on. But yeah, there's a real strong spirit, so you would help somebody out. I mean, I stopped to help out someone with a flat tire. If someone was like, had run out of everything, like water, food, you'd be like, there you go. Because you do that for everyone.
On the route, Neil updated most of my stuff because the Garmin stopped working and I had to keep turning my phone off to use it to check wherever I was every now and again. So I had no comms and my tracker didn't work. So whenever he'd see me, but he's here or he's there or wherever he is. So that's the only way anyone knew, because they were putting on Facebook and I had no idea. Are you alright? Have you even started? Where are you? Are you injured? And he was like, no, he's fine, he's cycling, whatever. So you do what you can for other people.
When we watched RAN, the organisers were constantly driving, and I think they were on a WhatsApp group, so if someone stopped to sleep, they'd say, I've stopped to sleep. Because the second they saw a chip not move, they were asking someone, or they found out pretty quickly if they were asleep or whatever. Because someone had a big accident, and they knew within seconds.
You also get given a SIM card for a man or whatever as well, and that has a certain amount of data on the phone calls or whatever, so you take the emergency numbers. So safety is taken into consideration, definitely.
One of my favourite stories was when they pulled over Dora on the side of the road and told her she was going the wrong way, but it was actually her birthday. And so the organisers had arranged a side of the road celebration for her birthday. Because I can just imagine her reaction to go, I'm going the wrong way.
Yeah, that was funny.
Great sense of humour.
Yeah, it's like I say, it's kind of like a family. It's been a wonderful experience. All of them, really amazing. Any more questions?
Who has signed up already for Oman? Anyone? Okay, 1, 2. Very good. Excited. Very good. Very good.
So if you have, I mean, if that, and I know people might have questions and they just want to ask one-on-one. Obviously, I can answer that from my capacity as the Biking Man ambassador. Obviously, if you want to come talk to me about what we do at Turn Cycling in terms of coaching, come give me a shout. I'm always happy to just sit and talk to people, you know, half an hour over coffee about any more questions they might have. And if you're not sure you want to do this, you've got more questions on that, then yeah, give me a shout, and I can hopefully help convince you that it is the most amazing experience you'll have. I know we've talked about some of the difficulties today, but I genuinely think anybody can do this, and you'll be a changed person.
Thank you very much. So,
Okay.
What's the favourite part of the bike?
Oh geez, that's a difficult question. DI2. I'd say I'm a DI2. It's changed my life.
I still think you're a brave man not taking pseudo cream after what happened.
That's what everybody focuses on.
You didn't see it either.
Yeah.
You're a very brave man.
That's alright then. Okay,
Thank you very much.
everybody.